Greetings, LHS community. Welcome to a brand new edition of Holding Court here on the First State Hoops Report YouTube channel. I am First State Hoops Report founding editor and Holding Court host Chris Stevens. Hopefully you all are doing well out there. And this week coming up in LHS basketball, we get scrimmage season started. There'll be 2 weeks of scrimmages. Various high schools will be scrimmaging against each other, figuring out who has the best, not who has the best players, but who, can help their team, who's varsity to start, who may be JV to start off, maybe freshman to start off. All these different things that coaches have to do in the process of evaluating players to get their roster set for the opening week, which, of course, starts actually November 29th. It was November 30th before, but then I saw a couple of teams added games that started November 29th. So, yes, we are literally 2.5 weeks away from the start of high school basketball season for real with a regular season game. Very much excited for that. And college basketball has also started in the state of Delaware this week. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the aftermath of the Sixers finally getting rid of James Harden. But before we do any of that, I want to remind you to subscribe to our YouTube page. And hit the notification bell so you can get all the updates of everything when it drops, when it's Holding Court episodes, when it's highlights of games that we cover, interviews, all the good stuff. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so when everything drops, all you have to do is just pick up your phone or go to your laptop or your tablet and say, hey, well, new First State Hoops Report dropped. What's good? Let's see what's happening. Also, all our contact information, all of our social media pages, the website where everything goes, email address for contact info, which I'll get to the importance of that in a minute, will be in the description below as well. So, college basketball started in Delaware this week. Delaware Tech is 2-0. They have quite a few Delaware kids on the men's side. I know they were trying to restart the women's program. They weren't able to do it, and I feel like that is a major loss for high school basketball here in the state of Delaware because losing Wesley was big enough because if you forgot, Delaware State purchased Wesley and brought it into their larger campus, so there's no longer a Division III basketball program or athletics program here in the state of Delaware, which is interesting because this is the 50th anniversary of Division III, and Wesley was one of the most successful Division IIIs probably in the country, honestly, because the football team was great, the basketball teams had success, baseball teams as well, but they couldn't keep the university, the people that, were in charge couldn't keep things running in Delaware State. Said, hey, we'll just, buy your campus. 21st century math. That's the way of the world, I guess. But, so Del Tech not having a women's program for the last couple of years has really been devastating for kids, for girls that may not have been able to get to Wilmington, may not have been able to get to Goldie or any of the surrounding other Division IIs or Division IIIs. So I really hope and pray the Delaware Tech's women's program gets started again in the near future because that could be a huge help for girls that want to continue their college basketball dreams, work towards an associate's degree and get their grades up so they can attend, a regular four-year university and play ball there as well. But UD is off to a really good start. They're 2-0. They host Air Force this afternoon. This is a Sunday morning that we're recording this. The game will be over probably by the time most people see this. But, yes, they host Air Force this afternoon. Martin Inglesby has those guys playing well. Jair Davis, he played the first game. Didn't play against who did they play? They played Goldie Beacom. Yeah, they played Goldie Beacom. Goldie Beacom, Jair didn't play because of illness. He'll probably be back today. But, yeah, 21-10 when they beat Bucknell to open up the season. They Christian Ray has played really well. Those are the two captains, Jai and Christian, and very much looking forward to seeing them down in Dover this coming Wednesday when they play Delaware State. Delaware State has had a rough start because it's guarantee season for our Hale alma mater. So UD and DSU men and women are playing some games that aren't going to help the schedule. The record very much, but there'll be learning experiences and there'll be a little bit of money. So, the university, the athletic program needs money. So you go play a Penn State, you go play a Texas, you go play a Temple, and you just hope that your team gets out of there in one piece. That's what it is. DSU's most recent men's game was an 86-59 loss at Texas. And I don't think Texas is a team that's going to really be in the Final Four conversation by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just but it just illustrates how big of a talent gap there is between, lower level mid D1s and HBCUs and some PWIs that have had a 100-year head start, we'll say. Because when you think about it, and this is me going off the beaten path a little bit, but I just want people to understand that, again, black colleges are fighting for crumbs. Like when I wrote something for work, when I wrote something for HBCU Sports a few weeks ago, when Kevin Tresolini, of course, who does a great job of everything here, with the News Journal, has, again, as long as me and a few other people have been alive, quite honestly. When he wrote about UD potentially leaving the Coastal to go to an FBS conference like a Conference USA, or is the American Conference, is the All-American Conference? The American is the AAC. I know that much. I can't remember if it's the All-American, the American Athletic, one of them AACs. That much I know. If UD was going to leave for Conference USA or AAC, Hampton showing up for about only 4,000 people showing up for a football game at Hampton was a there goes a neighborhood situation. And I wrote about that, and me and Trez have had a discussion about it via email about how that can be perceived as a slight by black people in HBCUs. And as I told Trez in my return email to him, that HBCUs forget fighting for a slice of the pie. We're still fighting for crumbs. So DSU is one of those schools that is still fighting for crumbs because the state of Delaware has not funded this school properly compared to what UD gets. And HBCUs have been underfunded to the tunes of billions of dollars over the last 100 years. So when you take that into account and you think about the PWIs that have had the benefit of state, local, and federal funding for 100 years, we'll say, because HBCUs started at the tail end of the 19th century. So we'll say like 1880-ish, 1890-ish. So we're talking about schools that have had to make their own way for literally 130 years or more. And that when you're trying to survive, you can't just throw money into building stadiums, building arenas, and facilities that these kids want to see now and their parents want to see. So when people start talking about, why is the Del State football program struggling? Why are the Del State men and women's programs struggling? Fact of the matter is, this is a money game. College sports is a money environment. I mean, it's a results-oriented business, but it's also a profit-based business too. And if you're not bringing in the money, then you're not going to be very successful. And I really hope that changes. And that's up to us as alumni to start putting something together to help the AD, help the administration, and start, taking Dover to task, because there's really no reason. You can't convince me, and this is just my conspiracy theory-minded work. You can't convince me that with one NASCAR race now, that Dover Downs is that big of a whoop that they can't siphon some of that money that Dover Downs gets over to Delaware State. That's just my personal opinion. And it'll be my personal opinion until, I transition to whatever the next phase of this whole spiritual experience is. And I also have a conspiracy theory that Dover Downs is built to kind of keep Delaware State from expanding. But that's just my opinion. Sorry to you NASCAR and racetrack and casino fans, but I go up for my alma mater. What can I say? But to the basketball side of things, it's going to be interesting to see what UD and DSU's men's games looks like on Wednesday. I will be there at Alumni Hall, Memorial Hall for that. I've been a Delaware State. I've been a Delaware State alum for almost 20 years, and I always mix up Alumni Stadium and Memorial Hall. I don't know why I do that. I don't know, but that will be an interesting game because, like I said on a previous broadcast, that it'll tell me just how good UD can be and how good DSU could possibly be, or how good either team couldn't be if they lose to one another. But it'll be very interesting to see how that game pans out. It should be a sold-out crowd, which, again, Memorial Hall only seats about 2,000 people. So if you don't have a ticket already, you might want to hurry up and get one before you can't. And I just really look forward to being in the building for that one because I've never been to a DSU UD basketball game. I went to a DSU UD football game Actually, I covered one once for HBCU Game Day before I started working for HBCU Sports. And, of course, I went to the infamous 2007 FCS first-round playoff game where Joe Flacco absolutely dissected the Hornet defense because I was home for, to see my family after I left and moved to Southern Maryland for a job. And I came home for Thanksgiving. And I wasn't even sure I was going to go to the game, but my friend had a ticket. He's like, come on, man, go to the game. I was like, well, this is the first time UD's played DSU in football. I mean, it's historical. So let's go. Yeah, I think it was, I want to say 28-0 after the first quarter. And I was like, you know what? I am getting on the highway. I am going back to Maryland. And yeah, it didn't end very well. And that entire rivalry from a football perspective has not ended very well either. So, but yeah, basketball wise, it should be very interesting. UD women, they also are 1-0. They beat Longwood to open up their season. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that team looks like on the Coastal, because you got teams that are good up and down the highway. I mean, Drexel just beat Delaware State. Monmouth just beat St. John's, and St. John's is a Big East team. So very good. You probably can expect to see a little bit from North Carolina A&T this year as well. They've got some recruits that they're very excited about. So UD's women have I don't want to say their work cut out for them, but I think they'll be decent. DSU's women, they have struggled mightily to find some offense in their first two games. They scored 43 against Temple, 33 against Drexel. We probably won't know more about the DSU women until MEAC play starts, because there's just been, again, so much with so much turmoil and turnover in the program, just trying to, find some continuity within the DSU women's program. Because again, they've got an interim head coach this year, Jasmine Turner. I think she's going to do a great job eventually. It's just going to be a slow start because, again, the non-conference schedule is brutal for a school like Delaware State, because you're playing teams that, have an advantage over you when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to facilities, and you're just trying to make sure you get your kids out of there healthy and with some tools, some extra learning experiences to take into MEAC play. So we won't know too much, and I think I probably will go when they play UD, because they're hosting that game as well. That game will be in Dover also on December 21st. So I'll be there as well. Putting a lot of miles on this car this year, because I'll probably, again, now that I have a little bit more job flexibility, I'll be able to make my way a little further downstate than I have in years past. In fact, I'm very much looking forward to Cape Henlopen's girls scrimmage day on Black Friday. Pat Woods hit me up and said, "Chris, you're welcome to come to that." I told Coach Woods I will be there once I come out of the food coma, because Thanksgiving at my mom's house is always a very good time, because my mother cooks, my brother's a chef, and they throw down. So I'm good, and I got to be mindful, because I'm trying to, keep this weight down. If you aren't familiar with my weight loss journey, really quickly, I used to be close to 400 pounds most of my life, and I lost about 150 pounds. I actually got down to 215 at one point, and I think I scared myself, so I kind of slowed down a little bit, but I'm trying to pick back up. I'm about 250 now, so I want to get back down to about 215, 225-ish. But yeah, I'm trying to, I'm not going to do too much on Thanksgiving, so I'm going to probably take some place to go, and then Friday morning get on the road and go down to Lewis and see, because Cape is hosting, and they'll be scrimmaging against Ursuline and Caravel. That's probably 3/4 of your girls' Final Four right there. So definitely looking forward to that Black Friday event. So on to the high school scene now. Again, there's really not too much to discuss because practice has just started, but I hope that all the talk that's been going around about lists and previews and different things of that nature, very much looking forward to seeing these kids on the court very soon, because we can only talk for so long. I mean, to me, the talking thing that I do with holding court and the content that I put out on First State Hoops Report to kind of, it's just to keep the ball rolling, because in this world today, you can't, go radio silent, as the old saying goes. Radio silent means when the program, like, you might not be old enough to remember this, but there would be a time when songs would stop, when there were no more songs to play on the radio, there was no more news to report. The radio station just went quiet until like the next program started. It would be like, let's say, because WDAS used to go radio silent after the Quiet Storm. I do remember that. and it would just be like dead air until like 6 a.m. And this was when I was a kid, because it was either Tom Joyner or Carter and Sanborn. If you're an old school WDS fan, you remember Carter and Sanborn. So, yeah. But yeah, there used to be a thing called radio silent, where you just didn't have anything on until the next program was scheduled to air. So you can't go radio silent in today's world. You always have to be putting out content. So that's why when you see the updates on Instagram and the Instagram stories on our Twitter feed, I'm still having a hard time calling this thing X, because it's stupid. It's Twitter. It's not X. God, Elon Musk is an idiot. Yeah. So yeah, you just have to keep putting things out to keep your name out there and keep your outlet out there, so people know that, okay, First State Hoops Report isn't just like, quiet to be quiet. So yeah. But yeah, high school season starts November 29th. Trying to put a schedule together now is really hard, because a lot of teams are hitting the ground running. I can tell you now, the early game of the year on the girls' side is going to be Tuesday, December 5th at Ursuline at 6 p.m. Ursuline versus St. E's. Very much looking forward to seeing Gigi Taylor, Skylar Bolden versus Erica Huggins. That is going to be a very, very fun matchup. And again, Ursuline, if you're not familiar with, that neighborhood, you got to get there early, or else you're going to be walking like a few blocks. Back like you did back in the Elena Deladon days. You're going to be walking a few blocks to get to the gym on Pennsylvania Avenue. So if you may have to, get there in time for the JV game to start. And this is coming from somebody who only lives like maybe a mile or two away, just just across Washington Street. So I'm just going to have to cut that, make a day out of it. Maybe I'll just go hang out at maybe I'll hang out at Grotto's Pizza and then just ease my way over to Ursuline and catch that game. But yeah, that's an early game of the year candidate right there. Very much looking forward to that, because that's going to tell us a lot about St. E's. It's going to give us a glimpse at how Ursuline is going to bounce back from a tough loss in the state championship game, because they played very well in that state championship game. It was just that, Dallas Pierce took over for Sanford, and that was going to be, Sanford just wasn't losing last year, because they had been through some heartbreaks prior to that. They lost to St. E during the the COVID championship. They lost to Caravel. And mind you, they had blown Caravel's doors off on Martin Luther King Day, like less than a month earlier. I mean, I was there at Sanford. Like Sanford had one of those offensive performances that you remember, like nobody missed. Dallas didn't miss. Zai didn't miss. Maya Carroll didn't miss. Zoe Kashner didn't miss. It was like, okay, these shots got to stop falling at some point. Everything they threw up that day on Martin Luther King Day went in. Literally everything. And I said, okay, this is the best girls basketball team in the state by far. I mean, Caravel was good. Ursuline was good. Tatnall was a surprise that year, but they proved themselves to be really good when they beat St. E's in the quarterfinals. Still one of the most shocking quarterfinals I've ever seen, because St. E was never in that game. Never in that game. We're talking about the 2022 season, in case you're wondering. But yeah. But then got to the championship game, and Caravel just had, two players working for them. Josiah Crawford was unafraid of the moment, and India Johnson, of course, was made for those moments. And it was tough watching those Sanford girls accept that second place medal, because, I mean, you watch these kids, you talk to them, you don't want to see them sad. You don't want to see them upset. And, those last 2 years, watching them accept those second place medals was tough. So I knew they wasn't losing in 2023. I knew hook or crook, they were winning in 2023. And that's what happened. But this Ursuline team has to be the favorite this year to start off, at least. And I know people look at my First Day Hoops report. I did a top 10, and I'm explaining my top 10s to y'all. And everyone was like, well, why is Ursuline number 2 if you're going to – because I have Sanford number 1 on my girls' top 10. And I have Sally's number 1 on my boys' top 10. What do they have in common? They won the state championship last year. So champions advantage. There's a saying by the great nature boy Ric Flair. To be the man, you've got to beat the man. And in this case, to beat the girls, you got to beat the girls. And Sanford right now is the girls. So they'll start the season as the First State Hoops Report number 1. That, of course, can change because the top 10s changed in the 4 years I've been doing this. In the 4 years First State Hoops Report has been around, the top 10s for the boys and the girls changed week to week more than any other year. And I expect the same this year because there's so much talent. I mean, you've got on the girls' side, you've got Ursuline, you got Sanford, you got Caravel, St. Elizabeth's, Cape Henlopen, AI DuPont, Archmere, Appoquinimink, Delaware Military Academy, Middletown, Tower Hill, Tatton, Howard, Hodson, Woodbridge. How did I forget Woodbridge? They were in the Final Four last year. Woodbridge. There's so much. I mean, on the boys' side, Sally's, Penn, Middletown, Appo, Howard, Odessa, Sanford, St. George's, St. Elizabeth's, Caravel. There's some kids that can ball in this state and they go to different schools. So it's not going to be the same top 10 every week. That much I can tell you for sure. So just be mindful of that. Like when we put together top 10s and things, it's just the start of the season thing. When Brad Myers does his top athletes thing, that changes during the course of the season. If you engage with the content and see that, it changes because it's a fluid situation. Sports are a fluid situation. Nothing ever stays the same an entire season. Like you can count on one hand the number of teams that stayed undefeated throughout a whole season and won a state championship, boys and girls. It just doesn't happen. And those are rare teams. Like those are teams that you remember, like the 95 St. Mark's team. Of course, they had to have a buzzer beater to win that last game and finish undefeated, but they did it. I think Ursuline did it once or twice on the girls' side, if I'm not mistaken. I know Howard boys was the first in 1973. So it doesn't happen very often. Going undefeated throughout a whole season, just being dominant from start to finish. You could argue that Ursuline was dominant from start to finish until, the only two games they lost last year was to the same team, and it was Sanford. But yeah, things change throughout the course of a season and throughout a week, actually. So don't look at a top 10. Don't look at someone's player rankings and feel like that's the end of the world, because it's not. Because as long as you get up every morning and have a chance to play basketball, it's a new day and you never know what to expect. That's what I love about this, because yes, we all have teams that we think are favorites that will be very good. And then of course there'll be a team that during the season we look at and say, whoa, where'd they come from? That's the way this thing works. Very much excited to get that started. We got so many local college kids playing right now. Like if you noticed, I've been updating the Instagram stories and the Twitter feed with it. And I'm excited for these kids. Like Kutztown, I hope that they make the NCAA tournament in Division II, because they've got on the boys' side, on the men's side, because they have 3 kids that are playing regular minutes. Well, 4 actually, and 3 of them come from Middletown. They've been 3 kids that have been coached by Aziz Ali since he took over in Middletown. Shouts out to that Howard Wildcat for bringing that Howard spirit to Middletown. Cam Roberts, who's coming back from injury, is starting to work his way back. And the 2 freshmen that are on the team, Jaden McGee and Amir Cunningham, they are seeing significant minutes. Brent Ricketts Jr. from Seaford was 6 of 9 from the field in his first college game. We knew his game was going to translate to the next level, but, first gone, 6 of 9, 2 of 2 from 3, made both your free throws. That, my friends, is efficient basketball. And very much excited to see, how that Kutztown team shapes out in the PSAC. Oh my gosh, they actually play Goldie Beacom on the 21st, the week of Thanksgiving. Go to the Joseph Jones Center out in Pike Creek. Please go, because I know I'm going. Because Goldie Beacom scored 113 points in their first win of the season on Friday. And when you have a team that can score 113 versus a team that's averaging 80 to start the season, yeah, that's going to be a shootout. That's going to be a fast-paced ball game. Very much looking forward to being on the campus of Goldie Beacom for that one in about a week's time. So, yeah. Girls, women's side, we've got so many girls in Division I. Of course, Dallas Pierce and Stephanie Kaleja are together at UMass. Zai Kilgo is at Cornell. Olivia Tucker and Emma Kirby are at Sacred Heart. Benaya Mills is at St. John's, of course. She is now 9 points away from 1,000 points for her college career. That, again, we talk about 1,000 points, and people are like, what's the allure of 1,000 points? That's not easy at any level, high school or college. I mean, honestly, it's not easy in the pros when you think about it, because how many players during the course of an NBA season score 1,000 points? I mean, a few do, but I mean, not all of them. I'd probably say maybe half. Yeah, maybe half of NBA players score 1,000 points during the course of a season. So, 1,000 points for a high school and college career. Sean Green and I talk about this all the time, and Sean Green made a great point. You have to be healthy and consistent, because that means you have to play at least 60 games over the course of your career and average 16 points a game to score 1,000, just about. 16, 17 points a game, play 60 to 65 games to do it. So you have to be ready. I mean, you have to be healthy. Your coach has to put you out there, and you have to perform while you're out there. So 1,000 points at any level, high school or college, is nothing to sneeze at. So very much looking forward to when Benaya reaches that milestone. And apparently, and the high school coaches that have returned questionnaires already, there are probably 5 or 6 kids already that are within shouting distance of 1,000 points. So we're looking forward to that, hopefully this year as well. What I like about the college kids, boys, men's and women's, is that we're seeing that, again, as I said, you don't have to leave Delaware to be seen. Like, again, we have girls playing at Division I schools. We have guys that are playing at Division I's and high-level Division IIs. And even the ones that are playing at Division III, NAIA, and JUCO, they're shining. Don't anybody tell you got to leave Delaware. Yes, there are a few programs that have way more advantages than others. Never going to deny that. I've talked about that before. I've talked about the societal aspect, the political aspect, and the climate aspect of it. There are just some schools that have made a come up off of the disintegration of public schools. And you take what the defense gives you. And the defense right now is a state and city legislature that just can't be bothered with public education. So, we just saw it in the news this week. Newark Charter is starting a football program. How long will it take for whatever the end result of the Christina School District will be? How long can St. Mark's hold on before Newark Charter starts taking more of their kids? How long will it be before Caravel experiences a drop off? Just something to think about, because granted, I know there's people saying there's this really complicated lottery that you have to be a resident, and you may have to know a teacher or an administrator at Newark Charter. That's not going to last very long, because as exclusive and as haughty as that feels like, it's really not sustainable. Because yes, Newark is an area. That area, Newark, Old Town, before you hit the canal. Yes, that's in an area that's going to continue to experience growth, because it has since I've been a kid. But they're gonna back off that hardline stance at some point once they realize that they can, get more kids, because more kids means more money. And when education became a money thing, that's when it became a problem. But that's my 2 cents. I've said enough about that. I could do a whole TED talk about that if I chose. Like a whole. I could literally talk about the nuts and bolts of public education in Delaware and how it affects sports forever. I do it every week, it seems like. So, but yeah, again, some schools are better off, and that's definitely from a basketball standpoint. So there's no shame in it. You go where you can play. And that's why people are upset about this transfer thing, when their anger is misguided. It's not the transfer itself. It's the reason the kids are transferring. Because if you told a kid that averaged 22, 23 points a game at, we'll say, McCain, that he could average probably about 30% less at a Sally's or a Caravel or a St. Mark's or a Sanford or a Tower Hill and get a college scholarship, you take that offer every day. Of course you transfer, because that's the point of all of this. To get seen by colleges, to be able to play ball in college and have some of your education paid for. It sucks for like a McCain, for a Christiana, for a Newark, for a Glasgow, for a Brandywine or a Concord, but people got to start, caring. People got to start caring about public education for this to turn around, and I just don't see that happening. But again, so many of our local kids are playing in college. I just want the kids that are playing now, the parents, the teachers, the trainers, I should say, and the circles that these kids are involved, these kids are around. You don't have to leave Delaware to be seen, because you can be seen and you can play at a high level in college. You just got to be good. And of course, with social media and different things right now, so many highlight tapes are being, so many highlight packages. Not just the stuff that we do from a news standpoint, but there's Huddle, there's the Max Preps. You can upload your own stuff and send it off to coaches, and the coach will look at it and say, maybe we missed a boat on this kid. Let's see if we can get them a scholarship. It's possible. You just got to play, do the best you can, keep your grades up, because I know, we have some, let's continue to put the student in student athlete. Let's not forget to do that. That's very important, because yes, you can break down a defense, you can jump over the rim, or you can, nail it from Steph Curry range. But if you can't make that 2.5, you're not going to get very many looks. So please, 2.5 GPAs are higher. 3.0 is ideal. Keep that, and the scholarships, well, not the scholarships, but the college looks, they'll come. They'll absolutely come. Just be ready in all phases of your game. That will do it for this edition of Holding Court. Greatly appreciate y'all's time as always. Once again, be sure to subscribe to us and tap the notification bell so you can be updated with new things drop, such as Holding Court and game highlights and interviews, and all of our contact information in the description below. So we're going to get this Sunday started. It's a beautiful Sunday of chilly, so I'm going to go for a walk, come back, cook, pull out my Christmas decorations. I finally finished my house cleaning. So yeah, I'm definitely pulling out my Christmas decorations, start separating what I'm going to put out, what I'm going to put up. I may even put this wall hanging up that I found at Family Dollar that I really like. Actually, it's a door hanger, so I'm going to put it up on my door. Actually, when this episode is finished, yes, I'm absolutely putting it up. I'm sorry. I'm one of those Christmas people. I'm sorry, y'all. But thank y'all for watching Holding Court. Till the next time we talk to each other, take care of yourselves.